Hello and welcome to the April 19th, 2021 edition of the Bobby Hesley Show. How's everybody doing? Thought I'd hop back in the office today, the mobile office I like to call it. Do one of my old school drive and dives that many of you have come to love. Headed out to some real estate appointments, and I just thought I would share my thoughts on some of the crazy things going on in the country, particularly things that are going on regarding the Chauvin Trial. Now, notice that I'm referring to it as the Chauvin Trial and not the George Floyd trial. And the reason why is because this trial is not about George Floyd at all, in my opinion. In my opinion, Derek Chauvin, and not just Derek Chauvin, but I believe that police all across the country are on trial in a symbolic manner, because I believe that there's a concerted effort to defund the police. Well, there's no belief about it. It's a fact. The left is very clear in their intentions to defund the police. The Minneapolis Police Department has already done that, and the crime rate has spiked. In New York, they've defunded the police. The crime rate has spiked. I think I heard reports of up to 200%. So here's my question. First of all, thanks for joining me, everybody. Be sure to like, share, comment on this video, get the likes up, and don't hesitate to share this video. But here's a question that I have. My question is this: why is it that the Minneapolis Police Department sat on the entire 1 hour and 9 minute body cam footage of the George Floyd arrest last May 25th, last Memorial Day? They sat on it for 3 months, folks. Do you guys remember that? They sat on it for 90 days. And the only thing that the entire world was left with to judge that entire situation, 8-minute and 46-second cell phone video of a bystander that already started while George Floyd was on the ground. Now, I've done videos in the past. Matter of fact, I believe the very first video that I did when I got back from Thailand last year was titled "We Were Duped." If you go to my YouTube channel and you scroll down, go back to around last August, I did an entire 20-minute video on how we were all duped with the George Floyd footage, because it showed the entire encounter, folks. And the fact is, it's sad that George Floyd is no longer with us, but I do believe that he played a hand in his own death, as many minorities play a hand in their own death. Now, people always say, well, that doesn't, he had drugs in his system. He had fentanyl in his system, cocaine, methamphetamine. He was using fake $20 bills. None of that gives the police the right to kill them. And I agree with that. That's not why George Floyd was killed. That's not why he died. When someone becomes a threat to themselves, to the police, or to others, they have to be detained. And evidence has come out in the trial, for those of you that have been watching, that it turns out that Officer Chauvin's knee was not on George Floyd's neck. It was on his upper shoulder blade, but the angle of the cell phone camera, which doesn't tell the full story, made it look like his knee was on his neck. But the fact is it wasn't. So this whole narrative of "take your knee off my neck," again, it reminds me of the death of Michael Brown back in 2014, which was also based on a lie. Hands up, don't shoot, never happened. Michael Brown was going for Officer Brown's or officer, whoever the police officer was, Darren, whatever his name was, he was going for his gun. There was gunpowder found in Michael Brown's fingernails on the autopsy report. Hands up, don't shoot is a lie. It never happened. And get your knee off my neck, that's another lie that never happened, which the evidence came out with. But my question is, why did the MPD sit on that footage that told the entire story, the entire 1 hour and 9 minute footage, for 3 months while the entire world basically burned down? All the black inner cities burned down. All these different places were rioted and looted and pillaged. And the whole time they had this footage. Yet, when Daunte Wright was shot and killed fatally, they released that footage right away. Why didn't they release the Floyd footage right away? Why did they release the Daunte Wright footage in the middle of the Chauvin trial? Because I believe that the left is trying to put public pressure on that jury that's in the Chauvin trial to convict Derek Chauvin of first-degree murder. I don't think they're going to get him on first-degree murder. Maybe they'll get him on manslaughter, who knows? But here's what you got to think about. The Floyd family has already received $27 million from the city of Minneapolis before Chauvin's even been convicted. Before anybody's been convicted, his family's already been paid $27 million. Normally, civil payouts come afterwards. Like, if you guys think back to O.J. Simpson, right? He won his criminal trial. They were not able to convict him criminally for the death of Nicole Brown. But the Brown family ended up winning a civil lawsuit and getting millions of dollars out of O.J. a year or two later. But that was after the criminal trial was over. I've never seen a civil payout before a criminal trial. That's a lot of pressure they're putting on the jury. I also believe that they released the Daunte Wright footage right away to also put pressure on the jury. Because again, why didn't they release the Floyd footage right away, just like they did with Daunte? How come they're not sitting on the Daunte Wright footage for 90 days like they did with George Floyd? Because I believe that they timed it to release it during the trial, to add extra pressure, to add extra political pressure, to try to convict Chauvin of first-degree murder. Now, am I saying that Chauvin was innocent? Am I saying that he doesn't deserve to be held accountable? Of course not. But the fact is, if you watch the entire 1 hour and 9-minute video, and I have watched it, folks. As a matter of fact, I was in Minneapolis this January, and I went to George Floyd Square. I literally went to the spot where George Floyd died, right in front of Cup Foods. And it's a Chaz zone. It's an autonomous zone that has no police presence, and it's filled with hatred and evil and lies. I could feel the evil in the air of that place. I could feel the evil and the hatred and the deception in the air of that place. I could just feel it. And the fact is, when I was at George Floyd Square, I sat in my car. I sat in my rental car. So obviously I don't live in Minneapolis. And I watched the entire 1 hour and 9-minute encounter from start to finish. And I literally was able to look at all the different spots where everything happened. And I was actually parked, believe it or not, I was actually parked right where George Floyd's car was parked as I watched that video, because I wanted to retrace the steps of the whole encounter. The part where George Floyd was originally parked when he was in his car is not a shrine. The only part that's a shrine is where he actually died in front of Cup Foods. And believe it or not, the residents of that neighborhood, they hate George Floyd Plaza because of all the crime. They hate that all these criminals are coming in and out. You guys realize that there was a shooting? There was a man that was shot and killed right in front of Cup Foods, inches away from where George Floyd died just a few months ago, because there's no police presence in the autonomous zone. Because I believe that there's a mark. All right, sorry about that, guys. StreamYard is the streaming software is not always the best sometimes when I'm mobile. But the fact is, if you're going to defund the police, which is what they did in Minneapolis and like they're trying to do in other inner cities, you're going to see a lot more of these tragic shootings, folks. That's just a fact. But I believe that's what the left wants. That's what the left wants, because they need an agenda of hatred and deception in order to take over. But that's why I'm calling it the Chauvin trial and not the Floyd trial. Because I believe that Chauvin symbolizes all the police across the country that are on trial. And that's just what's going on, folks. What's going to happen with Chauvin, I don't know. I don't think they're going to get him on first-degree murder. I really don't. And they may not even get him on manslaughter. They may not get him. He might walk, guys. It might even be a mistrial. And I think that's what the left wants. I think the prosecution knows that it can't win this case. I think the prosecution knows that they're in an impossible position when it comes to burden of proof. I think that they know that. But I think the whole point of this trial is to get more riots going. And the question is, the left has taken over everything. They control Congress now. They control the White House. They're trying to pack the Supreme Court. They control the media. They control every aspect of our culture. And yet they're still trying to stoke these police brutality narratives. And I believe that it's because they want more than control of government. They want control of the entire country. But in order for them to pull that off, they need to manufacture these race wars. They need to manufacture these crises so that they can create a false and an artificial need for them. That's what I truly believe is happening, folks. I know that's not a popular opinion, but that's what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. You know, and they will go to whatever lengths they have to. You guys saw my video that I did on Adam Toledo. I encourage you guys to go back and watch that on my YouTube channel, where I unpacked all the different myths. One by one, I debunked everything that the leftist media narrative was trying to say about that encounter. I've had a lot going on, so I didn't really get a chance to do a video about the lieutenant that was pepper sprayed. I think it was down in Texas. And everybody's trying to make a big deal out of that. How is it that this soldier, you know, who served our country could be so mistreated by police? But the fact is, like I said in my previous video, God bless him for his service. But there's no amount of service to our country that gives you the right to disobey law enforcement. And if you guys go back and watch that video, he was clearly being defiant and not complying with the police. And that's a shame, folks. You know why? Let me tell you what the shame in that is. It's not a shame because it was a soldier who got pepper sprayed. That's not the shame of that video. The shame of that encounter is the bad example, the horrible example that this lieutenant set to every young man who's thinking about coming into the armed forces and serving our country. You know why? Because as a soldier, obedience to superiors, obedience to law enforcement should come naturally to you. That's the mark of a good soldier, is how compliant and how obedient with their superiors they are. And the fact is, this soldier who was pepper sprayed set a horrible example for anybody who want to serve in the armed services, because he set a horrible example of non-compliance and disobedience. The type of defiance that he showed in that video, that's what gets soldiers dishonorably discharged from service. It is. He brought a lot of dishonor to a lot of the soldiers, man. Because if anybody should know how to obey, it's him. And what a horrible example he set. Yet, because it was white cops and he was black, it fit the narrative, so all the other facts be damned. And that's a fact, guys. I got to be careful because I'm in traffic here. But do I think it's going to burn tonight, Jack? I don't know. I think it probably will. That's the pattern of the left. They like to burn and loot and riot. That's what they want. That's what they need. They need that, folks. That's the only way they're going to continue to increase their power. Was he a Marine, Sam? Are you saying that he was a Marine? If he was a Marine, that proves my point even more. That makes it even worse. What a way to dishonor the Marines. Do I think it's going to burn across the United States tonight? I'm out of the loop. What's going on tonight? I'm not sure what's happening tonight, Jack. Hold on a second. Let me just switch lines here. I don't know why I always drive in the turning lane where the buses are. I have to keep getting over. I might as well stay in the non-bus lane. Just grabbing a little lunch before I head out to some appointments. So that's my thoughts, guys. That's kind of what I wanted to touch on. I just think the disparity of the release of those footage, you know, they sat on the Floyd footage for 3 months, for 90 days, and yet they did not sit on the Daunte Wright footage. because I believe they wanted to release it right away to add that outside political pressure to the Chauvin trial. I truly believe that. That's what I truly believe. Wow, look at that. Look at what Karina's saying. I can't read the comment because I'm in the middle of traffic right now. I'm getting ready to pull into where I'm actually going to get a great Fatu Salad. So I'll be able to read more comments then. Just give me a second to pull in. But that's what I'm thinking, guys. That's what I'm thinking. Let me make sure the heat doesn't kill the video here. Just going to close the sunroof. Wow, you moved out of the city, huh, Mike? Thank God I moved out of the city after the last riots. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Who would want to live there? Who would want to live in a city that has riots? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, Lisa Marie. Is the sentencing today? Am I missing something? You like Fatu Salad too, huh, Michelle? Oh, I love it. And I bring extra stuff. Like this is extra feta cheese. So I'm doing kind of a low carb thing right now. So I'll bring some extra feta cheese. I make sure they put in that garlic sauce, like that garlic cream mayonnaise. Oh man, it's so good. So what does everybody else think? I got a little bit of time. What do you guys think is going to happen to Chauvin? Is he going to walk? Are they going to get him on first-degree murder? Are they going to get him on manslaughter? I think the worst that'll happen is they'll get him on manslaughter. But I'm having doubts they're even going to do that. I'm having doubts they're going to get him on manslaughter, folks. So, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please be sure to like this video, comment on it, share it. I am going to go have an awesome, productive day. Actually, I have been all morning, been making calls all morning. I hope you guys are having an awesome, productive day. I hope you guys are focusing in on those things that you still have control over. No matter who's in the White House, no matter who's rioting, hopefully you guys are still focused on the things you can control. I think manslaughter, yeah. If anything happens, Sally, it would be manslaughter. That's what I always thought it would be, is manslaughter. Because I believe that if Mr. Floyd did not have those drugs in his system, he'd still be with us today. You guys got to realize he had lethal amounts of fentanyl in his system. Lethal. Like I said, go back and just watch the entire encounter from start to finish, from the police body cam perspective, not from the civilian cell phone perspective that caught it halfway through the encounter. You guys do realize that George Floyd was the reason why George Floyd was on the ground. The cops didn't put him on the ground. If you go back and you watch that video, he literally torpedoed himself out of the police car, and he kept saying, I want to get on the ground. I want to get on the ground. Get on the ground. He got himself on the ground. He was saying he couldn't breathe minutes into the encounter while he was still standing up. This whole I can't breathe narrative, the reason he couldn't breathe is because the drugs he was on picked him up and dropped him. Folks, when you get on fentanyl, it jacks up your adrenaline to fatal levels, but then it crashes you. It brings them down below the baseline of your heart levels. It literally picks you up and drops you. And that's what we saw going on there. That's what we saw going on. I know it's not popular to say that. Okay, Oda, you think that Chauvin's innocent? Okay. We're getting some diversity of thought here. You think Chauvin was innocent? Guys, if you go back and watch that footage, this is the point I always make. If cops truly are systemic racists that are cruising for a bruising, that are looking to kill inwards every day, then why aren't they acting like the Democrat cops used to act back in the days of Jim Crow, when they truly were committing police brutality against blacks? I didn't hear Chauvin call George the N-word. I didn't hear any of that. The whole time, if you go back and watch that video, all you hear is, what's going on? Why are you acting like this? Calm down. Calm down. We're trying to help you. Calm down. The guy was out of his mind, folks. George was out of his mind on those drugs. And he played a hand in his death. I'm sorry to say. That's just a fact. And we're going to see how that bears out in the trial. So I'm going to run in and grab some lunch so I can head off to take care of some business. Yeah, that's true, and he broke the law. He resisted arrest. And again, here's what you guys have to realize. What you have to realize is that when you resist arrest, you do realize that that puts the cops in danger, right? You do realize that a police officer feels threatened when people resist arrest because you don't know if that person's going to go for a knife, go for a gun, try to run. Well, what's wrong with somebody running? Well, what if they run to harm somebody? Right? What if they break away from you and they run and they try to take somebody hostage? That happens, folks. Or what if they're a danger to themselves? What if they run and they want to run into traffic and commit suicide? Guys, do you realize that there's a literal term called suicide by cop? One of the ways that people commit suicide, they're not going to overdose or jump off a bridge or shoot themselves. Sometimes they like to put themselves in a position to get shot by others. It's literally called suicide by cop. Google that term. Or if somebody's suicidal, they will walk up to a police officer and they will act like they're going to kill the cop so they can get the cop to kill them. Did you guys remember a movie back in 1993 with Michael Douglas? It's called Falling Down. Go back and watch a movie called Falling Down with Michael Douglas. That movie was literally about suicide by cop. It was about this divorced guy who was just down on his luck and he was tired of life and he just became like this terrorist. He was walking around downtown LA just terrorizing everybody. And the cops chased him down to Santa Monica Pier. Robert Duvall's character was the lead detective that was trying to apprehend Michael Douglas's character. And you know how he ended up dying? And he planned it all. He planned it. He died by suicide by cop because his daughter had a toy gun. She had a plastic toy gun that he took from her house when he broke into their house. He put it in his trench coat pocket. And when Robert Duvall confronted him with his gun drawn, saying, "Get down, you're under arrest," what did Michael Douglas do? He pulled out the gun on purpose so that he can get Robert Duvall to shoot him. He committed suicide by cop. There's people that do that. Because when you resist arrest and when you fight the cops, you're posing a threat to them. And like I said in my last video, most cops have wives and kids to get home to, and we all have the will to live. It's a basic human drive and instinct that God put in us. We have the fight or flight response. It's in our limbic brain. It's one thing we have very in common with the animals, is the fight or flight response. So when you resist arrest and when you fight the cops, you're triggering their fight response. You're triggering their will to live. And the fact is, they got more weapons than you do, and they got more authority than you do. They got more guns, they got more tasers, they got more hand clubs, they got more nightsticks, they got more pepper spray than you do. And it's never going to end well for you when you resist arrest. There's even a song that was made about it called "I Fought the Law and the Law Won." Who heard of that? Who's heard that song? I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. When you fight the law, it's going to win every time, folks. So stop fighting the law. Obey. So thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm going to head in. Please like, comment, and share this video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.